Hello and welcome to today's video on the structure question. So this is the question on the AQA exam that students did least well in nationally. And that's the bad news. The good news is it's only 8 marks. And the other good news is that AQA have already released a paper guide on how to approach this question. But for copyright reasons, I'm not allowed to show you that. At the end of this guide, there is a student exemplar. Well, here comes the good news. I have rewritten this exemplar for you, basing it on an imaginary encounter between Miley Cyrus and Justin Timberlake. That's what I'm going to teach you from, and there are going to be 5 key skills that you'll learn in this video. So get ready and let's go. What does the examiner mean by structure anyway? Well, let's look at the 5 things that I wish to teach you. The examiner wants you to be detailed and perceptive. I'm going to show you that, and as you saw earlier, it's not that big an answer. What are structural features? Well, you'll see those highlighted in bold. This is not in the mark scheme, but it is in the example that the examiners give us. So this number 3 is something that your teachers might not have taught you yet. So crucially, your answer has to offer an overview of the whole text, as well as the close examination of several relevant parts. That bit in yellow is something that your teachers will definitely have told you, write a lot about a little, all that stuff. But they might not have told you about this overview, so that's going to be a super important thing to learn in this video. There are a range of relevant examples. Well, you'll see what that looks like in a minute. And you need words that describe the structure, and that has to be clear and accurate. And that counts as subject terminology. Okay, let's launch straight in and see the beginning. The text focuses on a character called Miley, who we see from 2 different perspectives. At the beginning, she is in Nashville making an album where her father was filled with misery and an achy breaky heart. In the second part of the text, the writer changes the focus to Miley starring in a blockbuster film with Justin Timberlake. She is overexcited and a bit immature when she tells him, "Timberlake, my favourite kinds of wood and water, all in one word. Cool." So if we go back to that criteria, you will be able to see from the highlights what I'm looking at. Let's look at structural features, number 2. So that's words in bold. The text focuses on different perspectives, beginning in the second part of the text, changes the focus. So you can easily see what kind of vocabulary you need to use. Similarly, you might ask yourself, well, how many references do I need to the text? Well, here they are in quotations, and it's going to be 1 per paragraph, nearly 1 per sentence, but not quite. And the highlighted parts in yellow are the close examination. So how do you know it's a close examination? Well, that's quite easy. You're offering a further explanation. Yeah, so you've got 1 explanation and then you've got a new one. She's overexcited and a bit immature, which just proofreading my sentence there. So when telling him, that's a full explanation and is going to get you the marks. Okay, well, when we look at the next 2 paragraphs, you can see that this second one is going to be absolutely full of that detailed examination, which is going to lift the marks of this answer to a full marks. Let's go to the top. This links both parts of the text because she's going to fall in love with Justin and he is going to break her achy breaky heart when he treats her with disdain. Never gonna see the day that I ain't got the upper hand. Flirting with him has made her vulnerable. We understand that she possibly has an unconscious desire to be miserable in love, as this is the way that her father has made her think about love. This is why the writer introduced us to her father's lyrics at the start, when she pushes Timberlake into the path of the wrecking ball, we know that she does not really want to kill him, just get him to understand her passionate feelings. So hopefully you can see how the stuff in yellow is extra explanation of the effect on the reader, and we explore that by thinking about what the reader understands, what the reader thinks or feels. Next, you might have noticed that although I've got two quotations here, my third reference to the text isn't a quotation, and that's allowed. Okay, you can talk about something that happens in the text as long as it's relevant. That counts as an example from the text. Then we need to look at those words that are about structure. This links both parts of the text. The examiners like this idea because it's a way that you show them you've read the whole text and understood how it fits together. Yes, so not just what the different parts are, but actually how it fits together to make a whole. And so using this word links is a really easy way to get the examiner to say, aha, this student understands how the text works as a whole. And then this other word down here, it's a structural feature when we are introduced to something. If there's a reason for it, that is a structural feature. And indeed, any reference to time. So if it's important that the introduction happens at this time, then you're thinking about the structure of the text. Okay, now we come to the penultimate paragraph. Again, you can see lots of yellow. There's lots of explanation here. Let's jump in again. In the final two paragraphs, we are given a direct contrast between Miley and Justin. First, the writer narrows the focus to Justin's perfect facial features, which appear to captivate Miley. They are piercing blue eyes and a smile so perfect some believe that cosmetic surgery is involved. This structure is effective because it shows how adorable Justin might seem in the way of a typical romantic hero. In a way, this also links to the unrequited love of the ending, where we suspect that he is going to prove false in his affection. This is suggested by focusing on the fake nature of his looks with the suspicion of plastic surgery. Let's look at the structural language. So in the final two paragraphs, that's about structure. Contrast, if you've been following my videos for some time, you'll know that contrast is the key to writing in both exam papers. And if you always comment on contrast, you will be doing something that other students aren't, because it's simply not a part of Da Forest, which many students learn, and it's not a part of SOAP aims, which many students learn. In other words, you're not really taught to focus on contrast, but that will impress the examiner. Make sure you do it. And then again, this structure is obviously a reference to structure, and that word links again. Every time you say one thing links to another, you're thinking about the piece as a whole. And if I go back up to here, the word in this part that shows you're thinking about the whole text is the word final. Okay, well, what's left to say is just the conclusion, which I've isolated on its own so you can see how the conclusion works. The conclusion is going to focus on the final sentence. That's my top bit of advice. Again, it shows the examiner you've considered the writing as a whole. Name it as the final sentence. In other words, you're going to explain why that final sentence is there, what it's telling the reader. So therefore, the final sentence where Miley twerks him into the path of a giant wrecking ball does not just fill us with shock. We also wonder if he's getting exactly what he deserves. And so by focusing on that last part, what effect does this have on the reader, which remember means what does it make the reader think or feel, will always get you into those top marks. Okay, let's go back and see how we've done. Detailed and perceptive. Hopefully you've now seen that all the examples in yellow force the examiner to think you're perceptive. It's detailed, so I suppose that was about 5 paragraphs. There are a range of relevant examples. You saw that in every paragraph. and repeated use of structural words, particularly those crucial ones of link and the final two paragraphs and the final sentence. So I hope you found that useful. I'll put links to the PowerPoint and my Word document, where's that gone, in the description to the video, so you can, if you want, download them, but good luck with your revision, get practicing, and thank you very much for watching.